Welcome to Aspects of Writing. I'm your host, James Kelly, and my co-host for today is Joyce K. Gatzenberger, and our guest is Kevin Tumlinson, and he's with Draft2Digital. You're actually the marketing director, I believe, and we're calling this piece Draft2Digital, the new kid on the block, because they've been around for, a couple years now? Kevin, I believe?
Yeah, well, we've been around since 2012, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We started way back in
All right.
the early days.
Well, I'm going to let Joyce start off with a fun quip or quote. And Joyce, you want to start?
Absolutely. And thanks for letting me co-host today.
You're welcome.
My quote is, I'm a writer. If I seem cold, it's because I'm surrounded by drafts.
All right.
Author unknown.
And Kevin?
Hold on. I didn't prepare well enough in advance. I forgot the quote. I'm opening it now.
That's all right.
I had it open earlier. I know who it's by. There we go. Here we go. I was sorry to hear my name mentioned as one of the great authors, because they have a sad habit of Chaucer is dead, so is Milton, so is Shakespeare, and I am not feeling very well myself. Mark Twain.
All right. And mine is by Terry Pratchett, and he wrote, multiple exclamation marks are a sure sign of a diseased mind. And I wrote that because I use those constantly, and I'm always criticized for it. All right. And Kevin,
I was told early in my career as a copywriter that there's a worldwide shortage of exclamation points, so you should use them as sparingly as possible.
Okay. All right. All right. Kevin Tumlinson is a best-selling and award-winning author of thrillers, and you've written more than 40 fiction and nonfiction books, and they're all published worldwide. He's the marketing director of Draft2Digital, and he spent his career in marketing and media, and you're also an award-winning copywriter. He travels to conferences and events worldwide, and he's an advocate for empowering the independence of will-be authors. And let's see. You have a passion for storytelling. You also have a podcast, and that is the voice of indie author. You're considered the voice of indie authors. What is the name of your podcast?
That's the Word Slinger podcast.
Okay. And you've been in television and radio. What was your television experience?
I used to produce documentary series for PBS. I produced a couple of series for them. One was an aviation history series called Honor Squadrons. I've done some work for Discovery Science. I did a little bit for History Channel. So I had a kind of a nice little TV. It was all documentary work basically, but fun.
All right. And you actually have 35,000 listeners each week for your show, and you actually talk to entrepreneurs and authors. Kevin, please tell us a little bit about yourself and where you grew up and stuff.
I grew up in Texas. I grew up in a little area of Texas called Wild Peach. There's not a peach tree within 100 miles of the place, as far as I can tell. Okay. But it was a quaint little Texas village, and I didn't have much to do growing up, so telling stories really became something to pass the time, and got pretty good at it, and started to write. In school I wrote quite a bit, but I started writing for local papers, and started publishing some short stories here and there, and just I discovered a lifelong passion, so it's always been with me.
And you're based in Houston right now, is that correct?
Yes, I'm actually in Sugarland, Texas.
Okay.
Made famous by the band Sugarland. They named themselves and Sugarland Express, the film. But we're just outside of Houston. I could be in Houston in 10 minutes if I had any desire to do so. But yeah, we're living life large here in Sugarland, Texas.
Okay, well, I like Houston. I think Houston's a great city, actually.
Yeah, I like Houston well enough. I like to avoid the actual city.
Yeah.
I can do without the city part of it. I go to enough cities.
I think that's the way it is for most big cities. I lived in Atlanta for 12 years, and, it's a great city as far as it's a beautiful city, but the traffic is unbelievable, and I'd rather avoid that if possible. All right, so Joyce, do you have any questions for him?
Absolutely. You a really good dialogue there, and I'd like to ask you a little bit more about when you began writing and why. You talked a little bit about your childhood in Texas, but what really is your motivation? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, I joke, the running joke in my world is that I wrote my first book when I was 5 years old.
Oh, okay.
And I wrote it in one of those big chief notebooks that you practice writing in.
Yeah.
With one of those big fat pencils. Mine was purple. And it was a short story, really, but I called it a book. I tore those pages out and I stapled it and gave it a nice masking tape binding. It's very, very posh. I drew a cover for it. So, but that, I started writing as soon as I learned how to write, and as soon as I started reading, I had this realization that, this is how stories are told. It just made sense to me. I also had a tape recorder, and I would dictate stories in this tape recorder. So,
yeah.
I basically do all the same things I did when I was, 5 or 6 years old, for a living now, with the whole writing and broadcasting and that sort of thing. But I wrote, I used to write short stories instead of my assignments in school, which, you can imagine didn't go over well with just every teacher. But
of course,
I had those teachers who really supported me, who really thought that was great and encouraged me to write more, only, after my assignments were done.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you need to be a good reader to be a good writer.
I believe so. Yeah. I think reading is the gateway to good storytelling. Mm-hmm. If you have any passion for storytelling at all, reading, listening to stories being told. I love audiobooks. I love podcasts. There was a very rich storytelling tradition in my family, in my community, where, the old timers would, we'd go fishing or hunting or, camping, and they'd spin yarns about all kinds of crazy stuff. And I think that definitely wove into the fabric of my life and career. Definitely fueled that passion. I'm absolutely certain about that.
Yeah. Joyce, I'm just curious with you, when did you think you started writing? And I say think because it's kind of like Kevin was saying, you think back, he said he started writing when he was 5.
I started, I'm sorry, I'm having a little problem with my audio here today. I started writing after I thought about it for a long time. I started writing as an adult. I kept a book and I carried it around with me. Whenever I heard a very catchy phrase, I wrote it down in this little book, and I thought, oh, that would be nice to put into a book. Most of my teenage years ended up like you were saying, Kevin, with little phrases put in and with colored pages and big fat pens and pencils and different colors in the book. And you thought someday, oh my gosh, this might be a great storybook. That's how mine began.
Mm-hmm. Well, Kevin, we're going to be talking about Draft2Digital, and that's the main reason you're on the show today. I mean, I do want to hear a little bit about what is the latest book you're working on, and give us a little idea, a synopsis of what it's about.
I am, pardon me, I'm sorry. I'm working on another thriller. I write, these days I mostly write archaeological thrillers.
Okay.
I have a protagonist named Dan Kotler, who's a modern day Indiana Jones type. And I'm currently working on a new one called The Antarctic Forgery. And, it's got all the tropes of a good archaeological thriller. There's puzzles to solve and mysteries to solve, and bad guys who want the MacGuffin as bad as the protagonists do. And so I'm having a lot of fun with it.
All right. And you've also collaborated with 3 or 4 books as well.
Yes, I've got a couple of collaborators. Nick Thacker, who's a fantastic thriller author. We've done some collaboration. I'm going to be working with Ernest Dempsey, who is just like me, is an archaeological thriller writer. We get along great. So we've got quite a few things upcoming that are exciting. But I've done some collaborative work with authors in the past. It's out there, and that was fun. That's a different experience.
Yeah,
I'm used to controlling the writing.
We've done shows on collaboration, and Well, I actually had two sisters on who write the Silver Sisters Mysteries, and we talked about how it can be difficult. And I guess even when you're related, it would even be more difficult because, you have a tendency to want to debate how a character should be written.
Right.
But they finally made a decision. Right. If we're going to write together, we can't have any arguments. So once they made that the rule, they decided no more arguments. That we get to a point, if we're going to debate it, we just cut it off, go away, think about it, and then come back together. So that's probably a good way to collaborate. Then we've had collaborators who
writing as relationship management.
Yeah, exactly. Then we've had people who've collaborated long distance and never met.
That's interesting.
Yeah. In fact, I had two people on who wrote a book called Mosaic, and they did not meet until they were on this show. They actually, one was on the East Coast, one was in Arizona. They did all the communication by messenger or email to write that book.
That's
7 years.
Well, Nick Thacker and I, we actually never. We had two books out before we met in person.
Wow.
We met online, and we collaborated entirely over the internet, over Skype and things like that. And it was an interesting experience. But yeah, we didn't meet. It was almost I think it was almost 2 full years before he and I actually met in person.
Can you imagine? Because just probably 10, 12 years ago, you couldn't have done it that way. Maybe by phone.
Yeah, a handful of years ago, that kind of collaboration would have been close to impossible. Just the time it would take. I mean, you might be able to pull it off with one of you writing a draft and sending it to the other in the mail, and that person editing and sending back. I mean, that's a great way to write a book over a 20-year span.
Yeah. That would take forever. Yeah.
Well, Kevin, I wanted to ask you a question. You were talking about you were writing an archaeological thriller. How do you do your research for that?
So I'm very blessed in that I have always loved any little tidbit of history, archaeology, anthropology. I read voraciously, so it starts with I've already usually encountered some concept, and then I just go digging for more. Sometimes I'll go visit places that are in the books. I wrote about Pueblo, Colorado, in the first my first Dan Cutler thriller, and about Colorado Springs and Cheyenne Mountain, that sort of thing. And I actually went to those places, dug in on a little bit of the history while I was there. But primarily, I use the same resources everyone has. I get online, I do some reading, get on Google Earth and walk around in a place virtually. Wow. I'll interview people. I'm very good at interviewing, so I'll sometimes reach out and interview people just as informational interviews. So, the research takes a lot of forms.
It sounds like you might feel like an avatar.
An avatar?
Yes, an avatar. You physically put yourself into the space.
Yeah, in some ways I do. If I'm able to go visit a place, I'll go. I've spent time in Paris and various parts of Europe that have popped up in my books. I've spent time in Manhattan, which features in a lot of my books because the main character lives there. San Francisco, has currently cropped up in the current book. Little things like that. I love going to those places and getting those details. Yeah. It's not always possible, of course. Time, space, and money can limit you on where you can go for research. But for those who are thinking about writing in this genre, I would encourage them to, don't let those things be a limitation. The web actually gives us so many resources that open up so many doors for getting out there and exploring the world. And so you don't have to be limited. Even James Patterson, I ran through his course for the fun of it about a year ago, his master course, and he talks about the same thing. He does the same thing. He may not get to go to Bruges, but he can drop in on Google Earth and walk around and see what shops are there and get a feel for the place, and then the rest of his research carries him through it. So
I actually do that as well. There have been times I've gone to see a certain street corner to see what's on that corner on Google Earth. So that is kind of neat. I do like writing from real life experience, so I like to travel and And I like that experience. I really think for an author, that's probably one of the best ways, because when you're traveling and you meet people, you're actually getting the influence from those people. You're actually,
Yes.
experiencing that. So it's a little different.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to start talking about Draft2Digital. And the reason I want to talk about Draft2Digital is because everything's changing in the market when it comes to publishing. You've got about 725,000 people who publish in the U.S. every year. And a lot of the formats that are used are ebooks today. And Draft2Digital is really coming on like gangbusters. I mean, you guys really have grown a lot. Because it used to be like CreateSpace with Amazon, then you have Smashwords, but you guys are like really moving in there. So I want to talk about Draft2Digital, and I'd like to know a little bit, where did the concept come from? Who created Draft2Digital?
Well, the company itself was founded by an author and two of his brilliant programming buddies. The author is Aaron Pogue. He was not thrilled with the options that were out there to get his work out and distributing as wide as possible. The interfaces always seemed clunky. There were always compromises, and he wanted a service for himself that would be uncompromising in the quality and usability. And so he reached out to his friends, and together they all cobbled together at first a solution just for him. And like most great ideas, they looked at this and said, there's a need for this out there.
Yeah.
There are authors out there just like me, and they're going to want to do the same stuff. So they pulled it together and built a business around the idea. And it's just grown since then. And I think one of the things that really helps Draft2Digital grow has always helped it grow since long before I came along. There's a dedication to the author, in that everything Draft2Digital does is offered for free.
Yes.
Draft2Digital only makes money when you distribute through them and books are sold. That's the only time Draft2Digital makes any money. And so the rest of the stuff, the ebook conversions, the conversion for print, the distribution itself, we've got several other, the automated in matter and front matter, all that stuff is all available for free to authors, even if they don't distribute through Draft2Digital. So that is at its heart what made Draft2Digital, so popular with authors. The fact that, you can sense, I could sense as an author, I always got the sense that Draft2Digital was there for me. Like they were providing a service and that they cared what happened to me and my work. And that goes a long way. That helps with a lot of word of mouth.
Well, I think also one of the things that Draft2Digital does, I've checked it out. I'm actually putting a book on there. I haven't finished it yet, but I am going to be uploading it this next week, is you've simplified things. Like sometimes, people want everything in a PDF format, or they, like with CreateSpace or even with Ingram, they send you these templates and you have to adjust everything to their template. You pretty much take everything and you can use Word, which surprised me because I was getting rid of my Word files after I had converted and stuff, and actually, you make it very simple actually.
Are you saying it was simple?
Yeah.
It is simple.
Usable.
Well, I'm doing a children's book which has illustrations, and it can be a little daunting to try and figure out how to upload your children's books with the pictures, and you guys make it kind of simple. I mean, it really isn't that difficult. I haven't finished it yet, but so that's one thing I like.
Well, that is the idea. I've actually done walkthroughs of the service where I've taken people from, like you said, a Word document or an RTF document, which is another file format. But I've shown people how they can go from opening their account once you got your account stuff done, and that only takes maybe 10 or 20 minutes. But you can upload your manuscript, upload your cover, you can copy and paste in your book descriptions and keywords and that sort of thing. But you can go from, you've just opened it up to create a new book to you just published in under 10 minutes. I've done it with people dozens of times just to show them how it works. So it really is meant to be an easy button. It's all about making it. The whole goal is to make this as easy and simple as possible, so that the author can move on to doing the things that he or she started this for. They want to write. They don't want to spend their time managing conversions, making sure the book is meeting the guidelines of individual retailers. We make sure it fits every retailer. We do all that for you, and then we give you this really easy, beautiful sales dashboard where you can see your royalties all in one place for every individual store. So it's all about taking the pain out of it.
You have walkthrough videos as well.
Yes, I record as many as I can at a time, but I've done several. I've done one super long one. It's like 45 minutes long, but it is the nuts and bolts of Draft2Digital from beginning to end. I'm probably gonna have to redo that one because we're making some major updates over the next few months. But the others, I try to keep them very short if I can, 10 minutes and down, 6 minutes for some of them. But they walk you through the various processes, how to add front matter, how to actually distribute the book, that sort of thing. We have it all kind of broken down to make it very easy. It's really, I think people are surprised though, because I'll do a video, but I really don't need to. If you spend any time in the system, it doesn't take long for you to figure out how easy it really is.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin, let me ask you a question. If I was a new author and I had never published and I was looking at your program, what would make me pick your program over something else?
Well, there are a lot of reasons you might choose to go, say, direct to a retailer or something along those lines. What we do is put everything in one place. So we take a 10% royalty cut, right? So if you sell through us, you get 10%. We take 10%. It ends up being about 15% with the retailers. But so you get that cut taken out, but that's the only time any money exchanges hands, really. And the reasons you might consider Draft2Digital is we automate the process of ebook conversion, print layout. We help with making sure the book is ready to go to each individual retailer without you having to specifically go in and make adjustments per retailer. We've got all this automated stuff that we can do for you, such as we can include. There are cool little things in our what they call the in matter. For example, the also buy page. If you are distributing your books through us, then what we do is update your also buy page. So every time you publish a new book, all of your other books get updated with that book in the list. So when readers go through and say, "Oh, I enjoyed Joyce's book, I want to get the next one," they can see that you just published another book. We've got new release notifications. They'll tell readers who follow you that you've got a new book out. We've just created, recently in the past year, we've created what we call Draft2Digital author pages and book tabs. And the author pages are fantastic. They're meant to be a landing page for authors. If you don't have a web presence or whatever, or if you want to just include it as your sort of about the author and book pages, you can do that.
That's an important step, and I'm going to tell you why. Because one of the things I always talk to authors about if they come to me for any kind of mentoring is that you need to have an author website. So if you have something built into Draft2Digital already, they don't have to worry. I've actually had authors on. I had one author on who, for the first time, didn't have anything. He had a personal page, but he didn't have a website for his books. And I said, well, though you've got to have something because people have to know who you are and what you do and what you write about. So the fact that you do that takes a lot of the legwork out, and it actually can save an author a little money along the way. If they have
that's one more process we simplify. The idea is so our business model is basically what's a pain point for the author and how do we eliminate it. The whole problem of having an author page, author website has plagued a lot of incoming and will-be authors. You're told from the start you should have certain things. a website, a mailing list, that sort of thing. And the website was intimidating to a lot of people because they didn't have the technical skill and know how to build them themselves, or they lacked the money to be able to just throw it at a web designer. And then there were all the other options, like, should I go with a WordPress site? Should I go with Squarespace? Should I have a blog? Should I, how do I add sign up forms and things like that? So we took all this stuff, and with the author pages, you can upload your photo. You don't have to, but you can. You can upload you can cut and paste into it a author bio,
right?
Or we can pull it from your account if you want us to do that. We simplify that too. You can attach all your social media accounts. You can there's a little link for people to, if you have a place for someone to sign up for your newsletter, you can link to it right from your author page. If you're promoting a book, you can put up your hero book on that page. So, all these things are meant to make life easier, to make it just that much simpler for an author to hop in and get this stuff over with so they can get back to the books.
Well, one of the things I like already is, and I know I get inundated with emails every day, but you guys send out an email every time you're talking about a specific thing, whether it be marketing or distribution, to inform
right
your clients basically what's new and what you're doing now. I kind of like that,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I shared that with you before we went on.
Yes,
there.
you did.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I actually print that out, and I discuss that. I actually like your company a lot, so I do tell people quite a bit about it. One of the things I want to talk about is marketing. How do you help with marketing?
Well, marketing is of course one of the greater needs for authors, and really what we do is we're mostly providing tools that help with the marketing. So the author pages and the book tabs are a part of that. Author pages and book tabs, by the way, use a marketing tool that we created called Universal Book Links. These are fantastic. They're a single link that will send your readers to anywhere your book is sold online. And once they've clicked through, they can choose their preferred store. Okay. So if they prefer reading on Kindle, or they prefer reading on Kobo or Barnes & Noble or Apple, whatever it is, they can select their preferred store. And then the next time they click on any Universal Book Link from any author, it'll come straight to the product page for that book on their preferred store. So that's fantastic. Then there are little bonuses like being able to add some of your affiliate accounts from some retailers. If you've got an Apple iBooks, or it's Apple Books now, but if you've got an Apple Books affiliate account, you can link to that so that if people click through, you can get a little bit extra cash. And if you're a book blogger, or you write about other people's work, and you can post these things on your website and link to Amazon's Amazon Associates account, that sort of thing. So that's cool, but you can also track your data, track how many clicks your links are getting. And the links are evergreen, meaning you can put them anywhere. They're customizable. So, I have some, for example, Books to Read is our sister site. That's where we're running these things through. bookstoread.com/Coelho Medallion. That's my first thriller. So that's a memorable name. It's much more memorable than a string of characters and numbers. But because it's an evergreen link, I can do things like put it on printed materials, put it on signage, put it on my business cards, whatever I need to promote myself. And that link will always send those readers to that book. And you can rescan every now and then. If you want to add new bookstores, something new comes up, you can drop those in. We scan the whole web and use the metadata from a link you provide, and we find your book everywhere we can find it online. So,
well, Kevin, I have a question. I was listening really closely to what you were saying, and I'm kind of thinking about this question from an indie point of view, and I'm wondering, let's say I'm an indie author and I'm out doing a book signing and I need a couple copies of my own book. Would that be something I could get through Draft2Digital?
Well, so at this moment, we don't have a direct print solution yet. It's something we're working on. So you could, you can get your copies through whatever publishing on demand service you use. What we do is provide a print ready PDF that you can use with those services.
Like with CreateSpace.
Like CreateSpace.
Okay.
Now we're working on some much bigger solutions. And I can't really say when that's going to hit, but we got some cool stuff. I'm so torn because there's so many things I would love to be able to talk about. I'm so excited about. But let's just say there's some really cool stuff upcoming. And people, I think it's going to be a game changer. So it might not be a bad idea to get set up with your Draft2Digital account as early as possible, because soon it's going to blow up.
Well, I want to give you some information to take back to the company when you do this with print on demand, because one of the things that I know you're familiar with Ingram distribution. I'm pretty certain you probably have used them or use them. And one of the things I don't like, because I've actually published other authors as well, is that when I get return books, I don't know where they're coming from. They don't actually give you.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, and that kind of is disturbing, because I'll have authors ask me, "Well, who sent them back?" Well, Ingram. I don't know which store.
Right.
But that's kind of very frustrating for me, because as someone who sets up signings, I'm very careful about telling them how many books to order for a new author in particular. And oftentimes they order what they want anyway, and it's more books than the author can sell. So that would be something to take back and let them know, it's good to know where this distribution is coming from, because if I could get a spearhead on who's doing this, and I could call them up, their representative, their events director, and say,
right.
Let's keep this at a minimum for these authors.
Yeah.
So, so that's something. But I wanted to know. Idea. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. And I know you have to experience
He wants to say so much, and yet he can't. I can tell.
Look, when it comes to this stuff, I'm kind of that. I'm a stallion on the prairie kind of thing. Like I want to run, but I'm kind of being holstered a bit because so much going on. There's so many things happening.
Good.
I swear I could probably fill an hour talking about just what's going to be coming up in the next 6 months.
Wow.
So,
well,
very excited about it.
I want to hear about your partners, because one of the things that I was reading about is that when you connect with partners, you always vet them to make sure that they're on the up and up. Yeah. So how many partners do you have that are distribution channels?
That's a good question that I don't have an immediate answer for. Let me check. I can check on our FAQ, but we've got, we distribute to all the major players: Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Apple iBooks, but we're also connected with Kobo and their Kobo Plus program. We have Tolino, Overdrive, Biblioteca, Scribd, 24 Symbols, and Playster. And that list is growing. Whenever we can add new distribution channels, we do. But it does that bears repeating. Like we have, just like when you as an author approach a retailer, you're going to distribute your books somewhere. There is a certain vetting process that happens. If you come through us, we make sure that a book going to a retailer meets that retailer's guidelines. So a lot of retailers don't allow certain types of erotica, for example, and so we have to vet for that. They have certain rules about word count, rules about images, rules about certain phrases or URLs or things like that. So we make sure all that stuff is right before we send your book to the vendor. But the sort of inverse of that is that we make sure we vet the vendors to make sure that they are reputable, to make sure that they pay, because we want the authors to get paid, that they pay on time, that they do their reporting, that there are a lot of factors that go into it. So what we've done is set ourselves up as kind of the mediator, if you will, the in between the author and those retailers. And what we've found is it makes the process go much smoother for everyone. We have retailers, for example, Apple loves for us to be their distributor. So they love getting books through us. You can go direct to Apple. They actually have told us they prefer when we're the one distributing the book because, first of all, we've managed, 140,000 plus books at this point. I mean, we've got quite a few books, but so we take care of all the customer support for these things. We take care of any issues. If something violates it, we vet the books. So if something violates their terms, it either doesn't get there at all, or if it somehow slips through, we take care of it when we're alerted to it. So, there's a lot that they get as a benefit for working for us, with us. And then the authors benefit because they don't often have the pull or the resources to reach out if there's a problem. So if they have a problem with Amazon, if they have a problem with Barnes and Noble, they can reach out to us because we have relationships with those retailers. Yeah. So it's a great mutually beneficial relationship for us to be the sort of go-between. We take care of all the headaches to keep things simple on both sides.
What about library distribution?
That's a good point. Library distribution. That's
well, we have right now we distribute to libraries through Overdrive and Biblioteca, and that is thousands and thousands and thousands of libraries worldwide. So we take care of all of that. We've got a couple of different ways for the author to get paid through these programs now. One is the one copy, one use policy. I believe I've got that right. That a lot of authors are used to. You would distribute your book. The library, you'd have to convince a library to buy a license, and then they can only distribute as many ebooks as they've bought licenses for. But what we recently introduced is the cost per checkout model, CPC. And where this is kind of revolutionary is if you're an author trying to distribute to a library, the library doesn't have to actually purchase a copy of your book to distribute it. What'll happen is if a patron comes in and says, I want to read a book by Kevin Tumlinson, and here it is, the library can get that book and distribute it, and then I get paid 1/10 of my asking price for that book at that point, which a lot of people get alarmed over the 1/10, but I can tell you why this is a good thing. Because if 4 or 5 more patrons come along at the same time and say, look, I heard about this great book, I want to check it out. If the library has only purchased one license for a book, they can only distribute one copy of that book. So it may be several months before those customers, those patrons who are ultimately customers, get a chance to check out that book. With this CPC model, they can go ahead and check it out, and I keep getting that 1/10 of the cost, but it's an infinite number of copies. They can check out as many copies as they want. So if I do an advertising push, for example, in Iowa somewhere, and I get library patrons excited about my work, they may go in and they may go in and check out, between all of them, hundreds of copies of this book. So suddenly that 1/10 cost isn't so bad. It adds up to more than I would have gotten, at one copy being out every 2 weeks for, years.
That's a smart business model.
It is. And it's amazing to me that no one's thought of doing this before. It's, it is a model that exists other than Draft2Digital. It's not, we didn't invent it. But, as far as I know, we're the first to really kind of roll this out, market wide. And you can, by the way, you can do both. People can still buy a licensed copy of your book. But what this does is increase your discoverability a little. It makes it a little easier for libraries to take a risk on you. So you could do something like create signage or something and donate it to the library, because libraries need this stuff, so you could get creative with this, create a program, some posters and some stand-up signs or whatever that promote literacy and use your book as an example, right? And donate that to as many libraries as you can, and suddenly you might see your discoverability go up. Little things like that become possible because of the models that we're pushing through. So libraries, we think libraries are a big market. It's interesting, the traditional publishing world has recently, they're experimenting with delaying releases to libraries, sometimes up to 40 weeks.
Wow.
So, which to me is incredible. It's like leaving money on the table, frankly.
So you basically found a way to turn it around.
Yeah. And basically, it essentially opens up an opportunity for indie authors who can go in and say, my books are available right as soon as I hit publish, they're available.
It's kind of a good marketing.
That means
good marketing strategy, actually.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So use it to your advantage.
Yeah. I think authors sometimes don't quite know how to think of libraries. You should stop thinking of libraries as a revenue source as much as it is a marketing resource.
Right.
And in that, if you're willing to just, compromise a little, you can actually come out much better and much more ahead, because, libraries are how a lot of people discover books. That's how I discovered a lot of my favorite writers. I didn't have money for books in Wild Peach, Texas, man.
But the thing is that if you read a book and you like it and you tell someone else about it, they might go buy the book.
That's
so
right.
It is a good marketing tool. Word of mouth.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of libraries,
or worst case scenario, they go to the library and check it out, and you get paid for it that way.
That's right.
Right, yeah.
That's right. I was just going to say, speaking of libraries, I have a question about ISBN numbers. How does that work for you?
Mm-hmm. So we will supply a free ISBN if you don't have one. You can, if you go and purchase an ISBN, you can use it. It has to be unique to that type of book. Now that's very important. You can purchase an ISBN and use it for anything you want, but once you've used it for an ebook, you can't use it for print,
right,
and vice versa. So that's an important distinction to get out of the way up front. But if you don't want to purchase an ISBN, we'll supply a free one. And frankly, we kind of have our philosophy on ISBNs is they're actually not necessary anymore. You can,
especially for
most
ebooks.
of the retailers are, for ebooks in particular. They're still pretty vital in the print industry,
right,
but for ebooks, they're almost pointless at this point because everyone's got their own inventory system. The Amazon's got AISNs, and I think Barnes Noble is EISN or something along those lines. But everyone's got their own, and they're not using the same ISBN. No one searches for books that way, except for librarians.
Like the Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about for Audible?
Well, for Audible, they've got their own system as well, and we have a gateway to audiobooks I can discuss if you.
Yeah, I do. That one is something I really want you to talk about because I'm finding more and more authors that come to me, and particularly authors that are on the show. Almost everybody wants to turn the book into an Audible book, and I did research what you're doing, and you do have a lot to talk about there.
Yeah. So we have a partner. Find Away Voices. We actually helped launch this service back in a year or so, not quite 2 years ago now, but actually it's been a year because we're celebrating our 1 year anniversary right now. So I should get this right.
Congratulations.
For Find Away. Yeah, with Find Away.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, because of our anniversary, we're actually giving away a free hour of production for people who want to convert their
and
books
that's
to
finished
audio books.
production.
So yeah, that's the finished hour.
Yeah, and some people need to understand there's a difference. Because recording time is one thing, and then finishing it to where it's actually part of the book is another.
Yeah, they typically will charge the producers will charge per finished hour for the projects, and this can get a little bit pricey for some authors. So that's why we wanted to partner with someone who had the same goals we do, which is go out and find a way to reduce this, to make this a little less overhead intensive, and make it a little simpler for people to get into the program. But we've got this relationship with Find Away Voices, and I'm looking up some of the content right now because I don't want.
Well, I know you distribute to 170 countries. You don't have there is no administration fee. A lot of companies charge you to place your book on their service. You don't charge. I believe that's correct.
Right. If you go through us, there is no admin fee, or actually they're calling it, I believe, I forget what they're calling
like
it.
Like a registration.
I've been calling it admin fee for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes. So we started when we partnered with these guys. Some of the benefits of the program are, okay, first of all, we don't make any money. Draft2Digital makes $0 off of people converting their book to audiobook. What we have provided is a gateway to get to Findaway. And you skip the admin fee. It's like a $49 fee per book. You skip that when you go through us. And then you get to control the whole process. So you sort of opened by referring to them as Audible books. And Audible is just one distributor. So these guys will distribute to Audible, to iTunes, to everyone you've ever heard of who distributes audiobooks. They've got partnerships with all of them worldwide. But what they'll do is they'll help you find someone to narrate and produce your book. And they'll help you work within your budget. You'll have to pay the overhead of the production cost, but then they'll distribute that audiobook to all these channels for free, and then they take a percentage off of the royalty when it sells, just like Draft2Digital, same model. Now, the cool thing is if you come in with an audiobook, let's say you already had one, and it's not locked into any sort of exclusivity, or contracts, you can bring your audiobook in, and if you come in through Draft2Digital, it doesn't cost you a thing. You just bring the audio in, and they'll distribute it for you for free, and they'll take their royalty cut, and that's it.
So Findaway creates the audio, and then Draft2Digital does the distribution?
No, Findaway does the distribution.
Okay.
Findaway connects you with people who will produce the audio.
Okay.
So Findaway is just like Draft2Digital. They're what they are. Findaway Voices is an audiobook distribution service.
Okay.
Right.
So they're a part of Draft2Digital.
But they'll connect. They're not a part of Draft2Digital.
Oh.
We're completely separate. Yeah, we're partners. We're completely separate companies. Yeah. So we partnered with them, though, because their business model is so much like ours, and they actually genuinely care about the authors, which is one of our requirements for a partner. I mean,
good collaboration.
That's smart.
Yes.
Because actually, if someone's doing an audiobook, they probably would want to do something with an ebook. Yes. So it is a smart way of collaborating.
Well, and that is, one of the things that we built, and this was not easy to do, but when you come in through Draft2Digital and you distribute your ebook, or even if you don't, if you just use us for conversion, we can transfer all of your information over to Findaway with one button click. So you don't have to, you'll have to start a new account, but you don't have to worry about transferring all the information about your book and getting all that stuff moved over. We'll take care of it.
What about the author page? All that goes over?
All that stuff goes over. So that's the service that we offer in it. Because we want to make, the idea was we wanted to make that transition as easy and as fast as possible. So it's right there at the end of the publishing process on our site. Once you've gone through the whole thing, you can choose to move it over to an audiobook. And once it does that, it triggers a bunch of stuff on their end, and they'll help you through the whole process. They'll walk you through it. They'll help you find a narrator who is right in terms of tone, in terms of style, and in terms of your budget. And then you can,
So they assess
audio, by the way.
Yeah, they assess what you've written then, like if it's a science fiction or a romance or whatever, so they can hook you up with the right narrator.
Well, you'll check some boxes to say it's, you basically can go in and you get a menu of things that you can use to decide what type of narrator you're going to get.
Okay.
So there's no, it's all automated. I mean, it's an automated process, but if you have trouble, they're also just like us in that you can reach out and they'll solve your problem. Or you can reach out to us and we'll help solve your problem. We'll customer support that. But it's, so the idea here is so Audible has something called the ACX, Audible Content Exchange. Their process is to kind of they want to lock you into contracts, right? If you go through ACX and you use them to find a narrator, depending on the terms you choose, you could end up locking your book in for 7 years. With Findaway, you own everything about the book. if you decide after you've gone through this, I no longer want to distribute through Findaway, you can pull that book off of Findaway and take it anywhere you want. You can give it away for free if you want. It doesn't matter what you do with it because it's your file. You own 100%. So that was one of the big things. We wanted to make sure that once an author got into that service, they weren't losing any of their rights. They weren't losing any control. You get the whole global distribution. You can get professional production. You can get the full service and support, just like with D2D. And if you already have an audiobook, you don't have to pay anything.
Yeah.
Plus, you can, depending on how you come in, most of the retailers, you can get 40 to 50% of your asking price. On Audible, you get 25% because Audible is just Audible.
Mm-hmm.
But you can, no one offers you a chance to get 40%,
right?
No one.
Well, it certainly sounds like to translate your book into audio extends the reach of your book, because so many people I know are digital readers. Other people want that book in their hand to turn the page and touch the paper and look at the front of the cover. But a lot of people want to, as they say, put the buds in their ear and go about life. So the audiobook is their choice.
Yeah, that industry is really taking off.
Yes.
Yeah, right now, audiobooks are the Wild West of publishing right now. It's just like Kindle was, just like ebooks were back when Kindle first hit the scene. You've got, there's a higher sort of cost to entry, barrier to entry. But if you can get your book produced, it's a wide open market. So what this does is increase your discoverability as a writer, because there are some readers who just are never going to come across your book as an ebook, and they're never going to come across the print book. But they may be looking for something interesting to listen to on their drive to work or on the commute on the train, and they'll come across your listing because people go actively searching for certain types of books. So you've got relatively low competition right now in this marketplace, and with high returns, and with all the different services that are out there, wide distribution right off the bat is much smarter than exclusive distribution. There's no KDP or KDP Select type service for audiobooks right now. So your best bet is to go as wide as possible, and Findaway does that. They make sure that you're in 170 plus markets worldwide. That's huge.
I have a couple questions for you. When it comes to book covers, do you help with that at all?
Did you say book tours?
Book covers, the design on the cover.
Book covers. Okay. Yeah. We don't help with that just yet. We're working on some things that might be helpful in that arena soon.
Something else not to talk about.
We've been tinkering with some. Yeah, I know. You're gonna find. So here's the thing about Draft2Digital. We are constantly. This is one of the reasons why I would tell anyone, no matter what level you are, to consider Draft2Digital for distribution.
Now,
whatever your career goals happen to be, because unlike any of the other services that are similar to us, we're constantly evolving this service. We're constantly adding new things. We use Slack. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's a communication tool, team communication tool, like a chat room kind of thing. We use Slack to talk about ideas, new features, new development, and there is not a single day since I've started working with these guys. I've been working with them since August 2016. There has not been a single day when there hasn't been a flood of ideas, of things we're working on, new things we're starting. That it's just constant. I've worked with a lot of software companies in the past as part of my marketing career. That it's unheard of to see this level of constant development and activity at a company. So you asked Joyce earlier, why would someone choose Draft2Digital over a competitor? That's the biggest reason. When you come in, you're coming in to a flood. I mean, you're latching onto the fire hose.
It's like any new company. You want to get in on the ground floor.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
We're a new company that's been around since 2012.
Yeah,
so.
But yeah, well, yeah.
We've shown no signs of slowing. Yeah.
I want to know your relationship with CreateSpace, because CreateSpace, a lot of people, and I was under the assumption they were coming to an end, but they're not. It's just they're doing away with a lot of the services that they offered, like putting your book in different formats and stuff,
tightening up.
Yeah. So, yes. But you still will be dealing with CreateSpace for print on demand. As far as you were talking about how you. No. Oh.
No. Well, we used to use, we up until about a year ago, you could come through us and actually send your book to CreateSpace through us.
Right.
But what we found is nobody would do that.
I don't think too many people knew about it.
Authors doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that may be the case. So what we do now is provide you with a print-ready PDF that you can use with any POD service.
Oh.
So you can go through CreateSpace, or you can go to Ingram, or you can go to anyone else. So we have formatting. We have this formatting tool that rivals Vellum. I don't know if you're familiar with Vellum, but it's operating system agnostic. You don't have to have a Mac to use it the way you do Vellum. It doesn't cost any money. So you can actually have your ebooks and your print books in an artisan template, we'll say, that you select, and they'll match up, and everything is looks gorgeous, works great, and then you can just download that PDF and take it anywhere you want. So rather than pay someone for formatting, which is what a lot of authors seem to do, just come and automatically format it, and I've used it. It's great.
Well, Kevin,
it works great.
I hate to tell you this, but we're running out of time. Our hour's almost up.
Yeah, that was a quick hour. I'll tell you that.
So, Kevin Tumlinson, can you please tell us a little bit about where we can learn more about your books, your websites?
Okay, you can find all things Kevin Tumlinson at kevintumlinson.com. And it's spelled with a U, Tumlinson, no B.
Okay, sorry.
I get that a lot. kevintumlinson.com. And if you want to find all things Draft2Digital, go to draft2digital.com, and it's draft2digital. But we also own all the near misses for that. So if you
okay. Yeah. All right. All right. So I'd like to thank Kevin and Joyce for being on the show.
Yes.
Joyce, thank you for being the co-host today.
You're welcome.
To find out more about our guests, just go to aspectsofwriting.com. You'll see their picture there and their books, and you can click on their links. We broadcast on amfm247.com on Saturdays at 1 in Pacific Standard Time. We're also on iHeart, iTunes, Roku TV, YouTube, 14 terrestrial stations. Just go to the website again at aspectsofwriting.com, and you can check out where we have our outlets. We archive all the shows on Aspects of Writing, so just go to Aspects of Writing to listen to a show. And until next week, this is your host, James Kelly, reminding you, if you can dream it, you can write it. Again, Kevin, thank you for being on the show.
And I want to thank you for being the voice of indie authors.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. It's my pleasure and my honor. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.